Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for joining this webinar today instead of our condition now in MCO situation. My name is Mashitah Darus, Director of Air Division, Department of Environment. I will be the moderator for today's session. As you all know, and for the audience that don't know about the information on Montreal Protocol, the latest development of Montreal Protocol for ozone layer protection now is that Malaysia, we have ratified Kigali Amendment under the Montreal Protocol in order to reduce the consumptions of hydrofluorocarbon, HFC, which has been the alternative to hydrochlorofluorocarbon, HCFC, before. Yeah, we have ratified the Kigali Amendments last year on 31st October 2020, and this ratification will come into force this year on 19 January 2021. This is to show the Malaysia's commitment to combat climate change and at the same time to protect the ozone layer under the Montreal Protocol's platform. Today, we are going to discuss with the panels from the industries on the implications of ozone depletion and climate change on the cooling industries. Billions of tons of CO2 are released to the atmosphere every year as a result of human activities with no signs of slowing down. And CO2 emissions from cooling industries especially are increasing as per our record. As the global temperature rises, this is based on the NASA findings that has been reported at the Montreal Protocol meetings. Yeah? This is more imminent with the introduction of high global warming potential refrigerants, particularly hydrofluorocarbons, which HFCs. HFCs are not ozone depleting potential substances, but then being an alternative to the HCFC, HFC has been used widely and throughout the world. Yeah, so this HFC actually is very potent to the climate, yeah, which is very high global warming potential for HFCs. While the primary motivation for Montreal Protocol is to protect the ozone layer by phasing out the ozone depleting substances, we saw there are increase in the production and consumption of HFCs in the cooling industries. And the reductions of ODS has also contributed in the reductions of greenhouse gases emissions. Yeah, and as I mentioned just now, the environmental effect assessment panels and also NASA under Montreal Protocol has reported that ODS were responsible for about 1/3 of global warming between 1955 and 2005, and 1/2 of the warming observed over the Arctic. Yeah? And the Montreal Protocol efforts have successfully reduced the warming impact from ozone depleting substances, which include the banning of CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons and phasing out of HCFCs, hydrochlorofluorocarbons. So that Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol was formulated to reduce further the use of high GWP or global warming potential HFCs in order to further mitigate the impact to climate change. Today we are going to talk about it with our panels. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our panels here. From my right, the immediate right is Mr. Chan Ho. Mr. Chan is the head of Department of Product and Marketing from DAIKIN, Malaysia Sales and Service in the Emirates. Yeah? Welcome, Mr. Chan. He has experience in implementations of Montreal Protocol HCFC Phase-Out Management Program, or in short HPMP, in air conditioning industry and involved in Kigali Amendment as well. He also participated in government working technicals committee in energy efficiency, regulations and standard, electrical safety and refrigerant regulation. And he was also involved in product certification for local and export business according to local and international standard. Okay, another one from the second panels next to Mr. Chan is Mr. Ferdinand. He is a committee member from Malaysia Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Association, or in short MACRA. He is a building service contractor since 2008, involved in green energy and sustainable activity in Malaysia, South Korea. Hi, Mr. Ferdinand. He has experience in design and build of hydrocarbon chiller for medical factory use in Malaysia, and energy saving plan for hydrocarbon refrigeration system. And he was one of the appointed working group member during the development of standard on flammable refrigerant MS26 2017 and code of practice by SIRIM. Okay, last but not least, our third panelist is Mr. Wen Bin from American Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, or in short ASHRAE, or MASHRAE Malaysia. He is currently the president. Congratulations. He is currently the president of the ASHRAE Malaysia chapter, or in short MASHRAE. He is involved in the development of numerous national skill standards for air conditioning and refrigeration since 1999 with MLVK, JPK and CIDB. He also served in several working committees on developing the training manual for technicians in refrigeration and air conditioning sector for DOE, CIDB, and developed standards and code of practice of SIRIM. He is also an appointed master trainer for certified service technician program under DOE. So now we all know that all the panels here are very well known, in their discipline, especially in the cooling industries. And we hope that we can get some inputs or discussion. What will be the impact? What are the impacts of ozone depleting substances and climate change to these cooling industries? That will be beneficial for the audience and also especially for those who involved in these industries. For your information, these three panels, they are very much familiar with government collaboration and also government relation on the aspect of protection of climate change. Now that we know Montreal Protocol is an international treaty with the purpose to protect the ozone layer by phasing out the use of substances responsible for ozone depletion, since the implementations in 1987, CFCs and HCFCs containing chlorines are being phased out due to their ozone depleting potential. What is ASHRAE positions on refrigerant and their responsible use? Can I ask Mr. Ng, the president of ASHRAE, on this matter? What is your opinion on this impact of ozone depleting substances and climate change policies towards cooling industries, especially from MASHRAE side? What is your opinion and what is the members of MASHRAE thinks about it? Okay, please, Mr. Ng.
Thank you, Puan Mashitah. ASHRAE has an indirect interest in refrigerant transactions because the operations of much of HVAC and R equipment depends on refrigerants. And ASHRAE contributed to the successful effort to phase out the ozone depleting CFC and HCFC refrigerant. And he has a significant role to play in encouraging the proper and safe use of refrigerant going forward. MASHRAE play an active role in the following area: policy, research, standard, codes, guidelines, technology transfer, and education. So MASHRAE acknowledge that the use of HVAC and R system has environmental subsequent, and MASHRAE is committed to make this system sustainable. Because of the environmental impact of refrigerants, MASHRAE hold the principle that refrigerants should be used to provide the best value to society. So MASHRAE position on the responsible selections and use of refrigerant as follow. We have three important areas to address. So selection of refrigerant, then the impact on the environment, and the life of the equipment. So let me explain in detail for these three areas. So selection of refrigerant and their system must be based on a holistic analysis, including energy efficiency and performance attribute and environment impacts, employee and public safety and economy considerations. And the second is to limit direct and indirect impact on the environment. Emissions of refrigerant shall be reduced through research, educations, improved design, manufacturing, or constructions of equipment, field commissionings, leakage monitoring, maintenance procedures, decommissionings, and enforcement of applicable standard and regulations. So, and the last is where possible, refrigerant should be safely recovered for reuse, recycle, reclamations, or destructions during service at the end of the life of equipment. So beside this, MASHRAE also encourage and support ongoing effort to develop new refrigerant and improve the application of existing refrigerant to meet this criteria. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ng. Very much in line with the policy. I mean, policy and also Montreal Protocol commitment, you know, from MASHRAE side. But yeah, of course, we have to support whatever alternative that we have in the market. However, the alternative that we have in market should also be should consider a lot of safety and also in terms of cost, which is affordable, especially to be used by public and also to be used by the industries for the industrial applications. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ng. How about DAIKIN? What do you think of the policies and the obligations of this Montreal Protocol, so-called under Kigali Amendment?
Okay, good morning everyone, to Puan, Mashitah, and also to all the panels. So regarding the refrigerant, for DAIKIN, actually we committed to the diversity of refrigerants. We believe that there's no ideal one-size-fits-all refrigerant in the market. Many criteria, as mentioned by Mr. Ng, that need to be considered when we want to select refrigerants in the air conditioners. So for DAIKIN, we need to consider things like the ODP impact, the global warming potential, the installer and the public safety, the energy performance, availability of the refrigerants in the market, the affordability, that easily available at an affordable level, the recyclability, recovery, and also the total global warming impact of the equipment. So for DAIKIN, based on the criteria that I mentioned just now, DAIKIN has already identified R32 as the most beneficial refrigerant for single and multi-speed air conditioners, which is widely used in Malaysia now. And R32 has 1/3 of the R410A global warming impact potential. So to simplify, for the use of 1 aircon of R32 is almost equivalent to 3 units of R410A use in Malaysia, for example. So thus, I believe R32 will greatly help to reduce the carbon emission as a whole in Malaysia and in the world. And also, although currently the market, there are still R410A refrigerants in the market, and also applies to servicing sector. But I believe, based on the past trends and the changes that we can see right now, I foresee the market will change to R32 rapidly. I'm estimating about 75% of R32 ratio in the residential usage for this air conditioner in Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you.
But as you know, Malaysia had ratified the Kigali Amendment, and R32 actually is HFC as well. Yeah, even though at the Montreal Protocol, we foresee that R32 will be used longer than what we expect, because by 2040, the reductions of HFC in Malaysia will be 2045 will be 80% reductions of HFCs in Malaysia, leaving behind 20% for essential users. So what is your comment on the impact of Kigali Amendment towards your production, especially for HVAC industry in Malaysia using HFC, like what else, like 410A? 410A is HFC with high global warming potential, and of course R32 is slower but still under the range of HFC. You know, I don't know what if in case that we reduce further using R32, do you foresee any kind of, in terms of research and development, any kind of alternative that can be used in HVAC industry from R32 so far?
Regarding the research, of course, currently the main refrigerants that widely used in Malaysia and also the ASEAN countries are mainly the R32. But we may have in future, we may have something more all-rounded refrigerants that maybe can replace when we move towards the Kigali Amendment's schedule. As I mentioned, like Puan said also, R32 will help to meet the big portion of the targets in the Kigali Amendment. So R32 at this moment is still one of the key factors looking into the criteria that I mentioned just now to fulfill to the Kigali Amendment schedule.
Yeah, maybe after 2045 we have other alternative already. But now coming back, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ng. We have another panel coming back to this issue on the alternative, and we have Mr. Ferdinand Ng. What do you say about this? How does this Montreal Protocol obligation affecting especially for MACRA members in Malaysia? Yeah, over to you, Mr. Ferdinand Ng.
Yeah, thank you, Puan Mashitah. Just would like to introduce what is the MACRA mission first. Actually, MACRA seeks to establish and provide accountable platform for the enhancement of technology and also business in the field of SCMV and R industry, which is with the growing regional recognitions. And we actually rely also on the manufacturer, because MACRA members full of manufacturers and also the technicians. Then we rely on the manufacturers to feed in some of the information. Whatever they produce to us, we utilize their technologies, and then we use the teaching material to teach the technicians, to share with the technicians in order to let them to handle the so-called harmful substance, or even greener refrigerant, or even a little bit so-called flammable refrigerants. Because what we can see, recently, for this few years, we can see a lot of debates, which is we want greens, more greens, but the way of handling slightly stringent, such as flammable refrigerant for R32. And also, recently also a lot of discussions on using hydrocarbon as well, which is largely stringent, which is much more stringent than R32. That is why R32 so far, we refer to the manufacturer's guidelines and also the international standards. We found that if we really go for greens and also having flammable problems, then we have to enhance the flammability handling. So far, in order to make so-called accelerations of phase down or phase out schedule, we could ready ourselves as early as possible. So this is the way that we can help in terms of the cooling industry. But if phase down or phase out too fast, definitely affect the industry as well, due to the workmen, due to the preparations of the gadgets, such as any equipments or tools that we need to change. This one is part of the transitions crisis. So if allowed for a certain periods to transit, then yes, be able to meet with the requirements of such as Jabatan sector, how many percent we want to phase down. So slowly, we also we much more rely on the manufacturer. If the manufacturer can come up with some sort of green product, then we can make the make their installations or handlings so-called safety guideline. Then we are ready to do the installation for that particular product. If we are not ready, we need the earlier preparations, such as we can see a lot of refrigerator using R600A. Last time R600A is not allowed to repair. All the problems have to send back to the factory in order to let the owner, the OEM manufacturer, to do their own repairing. But if possible, we already learn up how to handle the R600A, then yes, perhaps in the market, a lot of people started know how to handle the flammable refrigerants. But in fact, these flammable refrigerants in the market, because of what? Because of green, environmental friendly. So we have to accept, and then we have to prepare ourselves for this particular phase out or phase down schedule. That is a MACRA contribution that can do.
You're talking about the alternative being flammable refrigerants. I think we have standards, MS standards for flammable refrigerant already under MS standard. Yeah, but in terms of guidelines, we don't have regulations to control over the flammable refrigerant. That's what we said to MASHRAE. Yeah, even though the interest at that time, last few years, was there to use flammable refrigerant. We just want to, in terms of government policy, we have to ensure that there is regulations and policy on the consumptions of flammable refrigerant. But then this flammable refrigerant is not under the control of DOE, because this is not environmentally hazardous substances, you know. Unlike HFCs, CFCs, they are treated as environmentally hazardous substances to human and also to environment. But then flammable refrigerant is not regulated under us. But still, as I mentioned before we have this webinar to Mr. Ferdinand, we talked to Fire and Rescue Department, Bomba, that we need to monitor the usage of flammable refrigerant so that it won't jeopardize and have risk towards the general public. Yeah. I just want to ask, coming back to flammable refrigerant, I just want to ask
something on Mashitah?
Yeah, I want to ask MASHRAE over this, whether do you develop any guidance for HVAC industries or service technicians that use flammable refrigerant on this purpose.
Okay. Let me explain first before I answer your question. Okay. A refrigerant shall not be selected based on any single factors such as GWP, like just now mentioned by Mr. Chan, low GWP, R32, or the flammability, like mentioned by Mr. Ferdinand, and operating pressure, etc. Okay, so the wide range of HVAC application and their requirement through the world needs a variety of refrigerant to meet this criteria. So means that we cannot have a single refrigerant to serve everything. So cannot be. So maybe CO2 can be used in refrigeration application, maybe HFO in other applications. So means that all the refrigerants play their role in the HVAC industry. So in ASHRAE, actually we are trying to have this professional certificate. We're going to launch professional certificate in this year for aircon. We call it specialists or practitioners. So for air conditioning, for flammable refrigerant in refrigerations, and also in the high pressure refrigerant, and also the toxic refrigerant, because we also using some
okay, they use ammonia, right?
Yeah.
The usage of ammonia. Okay.
Yeah, we will cover all range of this. And for your information, our MS standard is just a handling flammable refrigerant. So for how to test the equipment, for manufacturer, we also have the standard. ASHRAE got a range of standard how to test the flammable refrigerant in the manufacturing stage. So how those kind of standard we have. So yeah, and we can preview in ASHRAE website actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about MS standard, nation standard on? You're saying that now we have only MS standard on handling of flammable refrigerant. But we have MS standard, only ASHRAE standard for OEM or any other cooling industries to refer to for the of refrigerant. I think that we should come up with our own nation standard.
Yeah. Normally, very easy is stream will start. Then you adopt the ASHRAE standard or HRI standard, then to modify to local use. That's the best way. That's the easy way.
So far none, yeah?
No, so far none, yeah. It's somebody to approach them.
Sirim, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the information that ASHRAE Malaysia, they have come up with this program on operational certification for specialists that handling a flammable pressure, high pressure refrigeration, and also toxic refrigerant. That is good news because actually for the UE, even though we don't regulate, but still we are concerned on the, in terms of the safety of or alternative that being used by the service technician, particularly when they reach out the public. They said that this refrigerant is better because can save the bills. With cheaper, you can drop in with just a certain amount. Just in terms of volume is a little and cheaper. I think public might be interested to use those cheaper one, which is affordable for them. That's why we raise this issue also to the respective agency, especially Bomber, that we have to make it public, in terms of the aspect of safety. Like say if they use this kind of refrigerant, what are the issues that will, and what are the things that they should consider while they choose the refrigerant. But as general public, we don't know what kind of refrigerant that we use, in the market. We just rely so much on the service technician. That's why it's very important for the service technician to be trained and to be well equipped with the knowledge I think MACRA and ASHRAE also know well, because we have spoken so many times already to the members, saying that we should have this kind of training to all service technicians we have. Actually, DOE, we have in the list thousands of service technicians that has been certified and also being registered with DOE. That's why we want to inculcate these skills, you know, while doing the master trainer program or doing a service technician program. We also put in flammable refrigerant modules in the training so that they are also aware on the safety side and what are the things need to be done while they are doing servicing for flammable refrigerant. Coming back to this issue, I just want to ask Mr. Ferdinand, what do you think the potential and acceptance of flammable refrigerants such as 290 and 600 that you mentioned just now in the market?
Actually, in the market, there are a group of people. They would like to handle, not say flammable. They would like to handle some sort of refrigerants is green to the environment. And then when they realize this particular green gas, wow, is flammable refrigerant, some of them, they started to withdraw themselves as part of the best practice because they think, wow, flammable dangerous. If once they know how to handle the refrigerants, then they will love it. Because why? One thing is good for environment. The other one is also when they start to handle the stringent gas, they know how to handle also R22, R32, R14A because they realize just one part missing during the handling. Normally what they do is they miss out some step due to non-flammable or easy, or this one easy to do. Just do some fire, don't need to vacuum. But once they handle the flammable refrigerant, they started to realize, oh, looks like aircon industry also very professional one. Have to learn the chemistry, have to learn the way of handling also, and then also the combination of gas with oxygen, how is it can become a flammable refrigerant. And they also started realize it doesn't like a Hollywood movie. Wow, nak cakap letup explode then explode. No. Then they started to love this type of practice. So once they started to love this type of practice, if they learn from the stringent conditions, they know how to handle also the particular toxic gas. Because one small toxic gas like ammonia, they know ammonia how to handle because they already well trained in terms of handling those refrigerants with the safety data. With safety data, this refrigerant, what is the category, what is the criteria, and this refrigerant, how much of volume need to pour in the system, whether in a room, they can become a very good and also experts to advise the owner whether this room can use R290 or R600 or not. And then some more they know how to judge. This is part of the best practice. There's people they learn from R290 and 600A. So back to the persons who like to use hydrocarbons, they can advise more. They can advise more, and then if really cannot install the hydrocarbon, they also can advise this particular room is too small, cannot install at all. So with educated or skilled technicians, then Malaysia's can handle the flammable refrigerants, no issue one for such as 600A and also 290. Do you heard about any death incident, whoever handling the ammonia gas or not? Because ammonia gas also multi-flammable. Everybody never heard about, but
so far for ammonia gases, Mr. Ng, coming back to Mr. Ng, is there any what kind of unit that use ammonia as refrigerant? Can you explain a bit?
Okay, normally for very low temperature application, like for example, make ice cream, make ice, those kind of
Okay.
things. Yeah, for
For
storage,
refrigeration,
yeah,
cooling.
for refrigeration.
Yeah.
But
We also have cases of ammonia leak last time in one of the cold storage industry, right? In Jasin, do you remember? I can't recall, maybe last 2 years in Jasin, and also somewhere in Shah Alam, leaking of ammonia from a refrigeration unit. And the long last, I think the last 10 years or 20 years, we have issues on using ammonia by these fishermen in somewhere in Kuala Selangor. And the
yes,
fishermen, our people died because of leaking of ammonia. And the recent one I heard was in Malacca from Jasin, storage poultry industries, leaking of ammonia. That is under the purview of DOSH, Department of Safety and Occupational Health Agency. But still, we have some concern over the using of ammonia as alternative refrigerant, unless these operators, sometimes they are foreign workers, they are not well versed in terms of the safety of chemicals and refrigerant. They don't know much. Sometimes maybe the unit they just temper the unit or punch the unit, so the chemicals leak out, that affect the safety workers, the safety of the workers. That's why it's very important, not only in the air conditioning system, but also in refrigeration industries. They should know and train well, even though just normal operators like foreign workers and lower rank workers, they still need to teach and train those people in handling such chemicals. That's why we are very concerned on using ammonia as refrigerant in terms of safety. Coming back, okay, thank you, Mr. Ng. Coming back to using this alternative, especially the flammable refrigerant, actually government is very concerned on, as mentioned by Mr. Ferdinand just now, some service technicians, they only know about the refrigerant in the market, especially the flammable one, being cheap or easily affordable, and but they don't know about the unit itself. We are very concerned if this refrigerant, especially the flammable one, it comes with a unit, a complete unit. Yeah, the aircon itself is validated by the OEM. So what do you think, Mr. Chan, as HVAC industries, you are the OEM, like say some people out there are using your unit and then they just drop in the flammable refrigerant inside your unit. Yeah. What do you think about this? How does that nullify the warranty of the system or the unit? Okay, over to you.
For Mashitah, first of all, just to clarify, DAIKIN don't OEM products from other factories for aircon. Yeah, we have our own factories in Malaysia as well as worldwide producing air conditioners supplying to individual countries. Yeah. So regarding the cases of air conditioning unit being, for example, DAIKIN unit being replaced with the hydrocarbon refrigerants, I think this is actually against the compliance under the Syrian regulations, because and air conditioners, when let's say we want to sell approve a product to be sold in the market for air conditioners, you require Syrian certification that need to comply to IEC standards. So when the manufacturers have tested, studied, and then get the approval with the testing results and so on, so the safety according to the IEC standards. And when a refrigerant change to the system, there are other potential effects that maybe in the market, some service technician or some people may not know. Maybe the label at the unit is not changed, then it will cause problem. The life cycle of the equipment will be reduced when there is change of refrigerants. and most importantly is the public safety, because when people change refrigerants, the next technician who going to service, do they know or not? Okay, so this is also a concern for the safety of the next technicians. Okay, not to mention as a public safety to the public. So basically for DAIKIN, we prohibit the replacement or change of a gas of the original gas that in the equipment with another type of refrigerants, and we do not provide such a coverage for the warranty for such product. Yeah.
Well, another thing, is there any kind of type of unit or aircon that can switch to alternative from one company?
No, at this moment. Basically, all manufacturers, when they design and sell their products out with that particular refrigerants, is already designed in such a way that it is optimized in terms of performance, in terms of safety, in terms of life cycle. Just imagine like a car that you buy, for example, a certain brand of a car in Malaysia. You start to modify the engine, the exhaust, you know, the interior parts. Of course, it looks nice maybe to people, but actually the performance maybe end up your fuel consumption increase of change. For example, for the car example, I just got example only. Yeah. So this is how we do it. Yeah.
Just like new car, if you are using like Euro 2 petrol, yeah. But Euro 2 petrol is, I think, dirtier than Euro 5 or Euro 4 new cars. I think better they use Euro 4 so that the engine will be much well protected compared to Euro 2 petrol. I just want to ask Mr. Ferdinand, in terms of unit in the market, economic system in the market, because you are the MACRA members, what do you see the potential of? Is there any unit, dedicated unit for flammable refrigerant in the market in Malaysia?
Yeah, the flammable refrigerants in the market, there is already in the market so far.
Only the refrigerant, right? But how about the
unit also? You see units for such as split units. There is a split unit for hydrocarbon R290, which is this particular unit designed and also tested using IEC standard. And this standard, the manufacturer is following the A3 class classifications to design. So there's some criteria to follow. So like Mr. Chan mentioned, yes, indeed. So the design of the particular aircon which is using R290 is suitable for R290 because the design is for that particular safety purpose, and obtain the safety certificate, then only can sell to the market because of ceiling requirements, and this is part of the regulation as well. So in the market, if got the air conditioner which is using R290 or using R32 or using 410A, all has been tested with the safety body. Means they already tested with IEC CB scheme. So it's safe to be used in the market. Yeah.
But
so in the market,
I heard some units that use R32 can be replaced with hydrocarbon. Is it true?
So far, we do not have that case. Perhaps got technicians which is they would like to go and do inventions, a new invention, because we do not know why they go and change the R290. But in fact, R32 high pressure, R290 pressure is different, and some more the thermodynamic property also different. So if we change, we can successfully change the refrigerants. They must undertake a long research, and in order to let the system getting a similar cooling. But in fact, these two refrigerant is different type of refrigerant and also different thermodynamic property. They have to be very, very careful to change, and also the safety. IEC standard is tested for that particular 32 system is 32 usage, not approved for 290 there. So perhaps manufacturer won't give you any warranty, or in terms of safety also, in terms of installation or defective of product, they won't give you any warranty for that particular change of refrigerant from R32 to R290. Yeah.
Okay, as general public, let's say the service technician approach you and say that, okay, well, your aircon is using R22, so there's no problem to drop in. Let's say your aircon, some leakages. There is some leakages at your aircon unit in your house. Then this RAC service technician approach you and say, well, we can replace it with hydrocarbon if you want to, whereby it can save your bills, and we just put certain amount, just little amount of, just charge certain amount of hydrocarbon to replace your unit. What do you say about this? Is it practical, or this drop-in practice is normal as a service technician, and they are well equipped with the knowledge, or they are trained for that matters?
All right. For that unit, which is changed from R22 to R290 conversions, the technician who proposed, he must understand the way how to change the refrigerants as what already written inside the Malaysia Standard MS 2678 2017. That is one part regarding change of refrigerant. Must follow the SOP to study the system, whether the system is safe to use R290 or not. The other one, this particular refrigerant gas is suitable to change to the other refrigerant or not, because beside flammable refrigerant R290 to change the 22, there is another refrigerant called R407C, also suitable to change to R22. But in fact, if you want to change a refrigerant, you need to study the overall system, whether it's suitable to change or not. Such as 407 failed to change because most of the technicians, they do not change the lubricant oil. Then it's not suitable. The system will fail, rosak. And if R290, they manage to change, and how they control the flammability problem, they must have a risk assessment. So if they get these things done properly, then the system managed to change. It's kind of a good change, inventions, and also helping the market to change to green gas. But in fact, is the technicians can change or not? Is the technicians trained or not?
Let's say they are well trained and they know the principle of using refrigerant, the one that you mentioned about the guidelines, the design, and whatnot. Is it practical? I mean, so it still can be used using flammable refrigerant as a drop-in our. Just want to know that whether it is feasible or not. Taking into account all the knowledge, all the training, and also knowledge about the system and whatnot can be used. I mean, it's practical to be done by the service technician. So it's still, is it practical or not?
Actually,
done widely, nationwide.
Yes, I think not only actually got many people already practice this change, and also a lot of cases, more than 1,000 over, has been used for 10 over years. If for me, if I say prohibit, then it's part of loss of economy, because we are handling the refrigerants, we are selling, we are as a businessman. But for manufacturer wise, against their defective this so-called defective policy, because you change the refrigerants without our consent. This design is not for the refrigerant, and then also against the safety policy as well, because you change everything. Then once got any things happen, who is going to responsible? This one normally will tell the customer. Then the customer, if agree to bear the risk, then yes, can do. It's feasible to do because it's
so
green.
It is feasible lah. So it is feasible to use as a drop-in. Because
not for me lah. It's for the overall and also the overall workforce lah. For overall workforce, yes lah. If for me, I would still encourage you to use the aircon which is designed for that particular purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. But still, that means that's still practical. Kalau if the service technician say that it still can be used, there's no cases so far. Our Malaysian people, they dare to take the risk as long.
You see, Malaysian is full of what we call creativity. Yes, creativity, because they can modify vehicle. They can modify to NGV also. Very creative.
Very creative. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. I just want to mention here that in 2019, last 2 years, DOE we have updated the training manual for technicians in refrigeration and air conditioning servicing sector as a guideline to educate and to train the certified service technicians who are able to service air conditioners in the same manner while minimizing, I think in terms of good practice, we have updated the training manual. And this training manual actually includes the SOPs, standard operating procedures for servicing and handling of flammable refrigerant. And I think we, even though we don't regulate, but we just take some initiative to put in the training manual so that the service technicians that has been certified by DOE also know what is the SOPs or the good practice in handling the flammable refrigerant. Okay, I think we have excellent sharing session from all our panels today. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Ferdinand, Mr. Chan. See you again.
Thank you. See you again.
Stay safe, stay cool, and stay healthy.